plate. I was trying to get something just right on the settings, and it wouldn't do it, so I just gave up. Thumbnail's stupid. Anyway, what's up, guys? Wrench with a winch, you in here? Or winch for the wrench with a winch. Anyway, what's up, civilian? So, for watching, tonight's show is going to be about FOIA / public records request and the difference between them, some things to just generally keep in mind. As well as we're going to touch on a few other happenings in the community, mine as well as the YouTube community. So where should we get started first? I will say that this topic is by request. I had an individual get a hold of me and sort of asked me to do a episode show, Friday Night Cites. What's up, Cindy? Thank you, mods, by the way. Real Genie, good to see you as well. Thanks for showing up tonight. But anyway, this topic is by request, so to the individual that requested it, I'm going to do my best to give us some justice and explain answer the various questions, the list of stuff that you sent me to touch on. Sort of try to touch on it all as best as I can. As you know, there's that one thing that I was asking about. I like to back up everything I discuss with sources. If I can't find the sources, I will try not to discuss it too much. But I did find a little bit. Anyway, first off, though, I guess what I'm going to get into first is furry potato. What's up there, Huckleberry? Terry. Hi, Terry. I see you're going to say a bunch of dumb shit, aren't you? All right, so furry potato. Furry potato, as everyone's probably aware, got shot in the leg while doing a First Amendment audit, which is crazy because you don't really think that's going to happen, and it sure as shit happened. I've talked to several people who was watching the live feed when this incident occurred, and I've seen the video myself. It's pretty wild. The aspect I want to touch on, though, is how if you're aware of who Furry is and you watch videos on Furry's page, and you happen to watch this video, you can compare it to media coverage and see that there's quite a different scenario being discussed. So I'm gonna go off of just one news media report. This was a KCAL. Anyway, the woman's standing there, and she basically opens up with, on one hand, and she's very calm and sort of monotone about it. On one hand, you have this YouTuber who was shot in the leg and had to be rushed to the hospital. Understandably concerning. And on the other hand, you have staff and teachers inside of the school who say they have no idea why someone was outside recording them. Then it cuts to the actual shooting, and then Furry running away saying he shot me. Then it goes back to the reporter saying a tense confrontation a tense confrontation at the Hebrew girls' school ended in a shooting Thursday. Cuts to a clip of the security guard in a raincoat, which is from not what I seen in the video because it's nicer. This is a completely different clip. With his hand out and he's saying, stop there, and he's pulling on his holstered gun, which isn't actually the scenario where this dude shoots Furry. Then it says, but the school principal said the whole thing worried her and the students. Yehudis Farkash, the principal, says an individual was filming our girls at the school and the building, the perimeter of the building, extensively, including all the windows and exits. This caused a great deal of anxiety to both our staff, blah, 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 blah. And, all right, so what we're going to focus on here is the wording. Starts out with on one hand, so that they can say on the other hand. And what they're doing is basically they're creating a difference automatically. They're saying that, well, and the reporter, people, there's reports where, people respond to the sound of voice quicker than emotion. So when the reporter is speaking very monotone and flat and just blank about it, this conveys a sort of apathy that you as the viewer pick up on. On one hand, you have this YouTuber, okay? Furry has a name, a YouTube channel, all kinds of different ways that Furry could be personalized. But they chose to describe Furry as this YouTuber, which sort of insinuates that a YouTuber is a thing that everyone's familiar with what a YouTuber is. This YouTuber who was shot, then they say in the leg. They don't just say this YouTuber was shot for doing nothing other than recording in public. They say this YouTuber was shot in the leg to sort of diminish, immediately let you know that it's non-fatal. Ordinarily they would try to build up some sort of a suspense and let you play on it. You have to watch for like 15 minutes to get the whole story. You find out within the first fucking sentence that Furry was shot in the leg and it was non-fatal. No suspense there. Had to be rushed to the hospital. Was taken to a nearby medical facility to obtain care. Had to be rushed. A YouTuber had to be rushed. Which, when you use language like had to, this insinuates that Furry wanted to go to the hospital and nobody else agreed. Understandably concerning, the way she said it is sort of like, it's a way to not be rude. People do this in everyday conversations. When you can see in a conversation that you've sort of triggered someone or offended them in stating that your opinion, and people will, fuck the police. Oh, my brother's a police. Well, I don't mean your brother. I mean the other police. No, I mean your brother. But Ordinarily, people are, shot in the leg, you know, understandably concerning. But on the other hand, you have staff and teachers inside of the building who say they have no idea why someone was outside recording them. An individual was filming our girls. School principal said the whole thing worried her and the students. Staff and teachers inside of the school say they have no idea why someone was outside recording them. Okay, so they use these languages like, here's another one. When the principal's talking, you can tell that she was coached prior to her speech because she remembers what she was supposed to say. She says an individual was filming our girls. Good job there. Filming our girls. Paying attention. This is not a good thing. Got to do something. At the school and the building, the perimeter of the building, you can see it if you watch this specific video. She remembers and says, the perimeter of the building. The word perimeter registers. Now, as an auditor, you're trying not to fucking trespass. Furry was trying not to trespass. But when they portray this to the community, they use words like perimeter because perimeter sounds militant. It makes it sound like Furry was casing the place, including all the windows and exits. Because clearly you have some sort of terrorist attack plan. You're filming in public. This is a top secret government facility, top flight security of the fucking world. You're a nut job. You must be fucking. You've got a duffel bag full of C4 somewhere ready to fucking go. You're clearly just. You're just getting all the details worked out. That's why you're walking around video camera. No matter what you're fucking doing, you're pursuing a terrorist act. And that's what the mindset is. That's how you come up with things like the perimeter of the building. Now, if you watch the video, this dude, it's not just stay there. It's about 10 minutes of this dude standing there, trembling with his hand, his weapon unholstered, trembling with this weapon, waiting to shoot Furry. But the whole time has told Furry, don't move. Do not move or I'll shoot you. So Furry just stands there recording the whole time, gets shot, and then the dude's basically like, get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Don't move or I'll shoot you. Bam. Shoots Furry. Get out of here. It's the shit is, from what I understand, the security guard's already been fired. I haven't, fact checked that myself, but fairly reliable sources have told me that. Anyway, there's also the footage. There's plenty of footage. They don't show any of this footage of this dude sitting there, looking like he shouldn't have ever been given a firearm because he has no idea what he's about to do with it. And I almost think he shot Furry on accident because he looked like it was an accident waiting to happen. But the dude is on the other side of a fence and he's inside of a building and Furry's on the fucking sidewalk, and security guard or not and school or not, it's a big fucking brick building and it's an individual with a camera. And Furry gets shot, and they are very opportunistic to jump on this and to turn it into where Furry was clearly some sort of pedophile casing the fucking joint. Now that's in no way, shape, or form true, but this is the kind of constructive language that they're giving the people in these media reports. Are, it's just enough language to sort of kind of insinuate something to where the average television viewer that watches this puts the pieces together the rest of the way and makes something up because of the language that they've used. But if you watch the video, you can clearly see that this motherfucker shouldn't even have been a security guard for the school. He's hiding behind a fence with a gun and then shoots the individual through the fence with the gun and then comes out and is, I think he was trying to arrest Furry. He was trying to tell her to get on the ground and put handcuffs on and shit. But this is potentially very bad, depending on how it escalates. They're going to use this to sort of try to call the First Amendment auditors community's abilities, because if the normal everyday average Joe thinks you're a threat, that's what they want. That's why they use this language that allows people to fill in these blanks with their brains and sort of come to some sort of conclusion that what they heard made them question you. So obviously you're guilty of something. You don't get shot unless you've done something wrong. A tense confrontation ended in a shooting. You know what I mean? On the one hand, you have this YouTuber who was shot, but on the other hand, you have people who are scared of a camera, and that's how it happened. Very monotone about, this motherfucker shot someone over filming. It's amazing. The acceptance of this is going to happen again. Furry probably won't be the first individual to be shot, or won't be the last individual to be shot while filming. It is, we have been deemed some sort of a aggressive threat towards, law enforcement. You're baiting them into fucking up so bad that they can actually be held accountable for their actions, which is a pretty whole lot of bait. I mean, you kind of got to know somebody that owns a bait shop to bait a police officer into enough of a fuck up that he's going to be held accountable. Anyway, let me check out what you guys are talking about here. Report police rule. Don't do it. Oh, Christ. When it comes to your kids, shoot first and ask questions later. Jesus Christ. Let's get to search and seizures. I don't think we're doing search and seizures, bud. Quick tidbit. Here in Indiana, we have Senate Bill number 12. This was introduced January 3rd, 2019. It's up there, your news now. If this passes, it'll go into effect July 1st of this year. But this is a biased, motivated crime bill. A bias-motivated crime means an offense against an individual or a group of individuals in which the person who commits the offense knowingly or intentionally selected the individual or group of individuals who was injured or damaged or otherwise affected property in whole or in part because of the individual's or group of individuals' perceived or actual color, disability, national origin, ancestry, race, religion, gender identity, sex, sexual orientation, political affiliation, status as a public safety official, a police officer, or service in the armed forces of the United States, whether or not the person's belief or perception was correct, or because the individual or group of individuals was associated with any other recognizable group or affiliation. One second, looking for another part here. Yeah, I believe it's supposed to cover their families as well. Anyway, so political affiliation, whether or not the person's belief or perception was correct. It's going to make things pretty interesting in Indiana. Anyway, so February 14th, yesterday, this made it to step 3. It was referred to the Senate Committee on Public Policy. They will be meeting. It's authored by Mike Bocek and this is dude Alting, Alting. Anyway, February 18th, 2019, Monday at 8 a.m. There will be a 90-minute discussion for and a 90-minute discussion against. They will be adjourned by noon. Anyway, this is similar to Louisiana's, Blue Lives Protection bullshit. Something to watch. So, let's get to this. All right. Now, FOIA, or the Freedom of Information Act, is going to be one of the links that's in the description, 5 U.S. Code 552. That's Public Information Agency Rules, Opinions, Orders, Records, and Proceedings. Long story short, what you want to focus on here is each agency shall make available to the public. Okay. Agency is covered in the definitions listed in the link for 5 U.S. Code 551. First definition, agency means each authority of the government of the United States, whether or not it is within or subject to review by another agency, but does not include blah, 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 blah. Okay, so public information, FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request, whatever you want to call it. It's each agency meaning an authority of the government of the United States, shall make available to the public. What this means is each federal agency, FBI, DEA, United States Department of Agriculture, the list goes on and on and on. These are agencies that are under the authority of the government of the United States. This is not in any way, shape, or form applicable to your local state. Okay? Your state has their own Freedom of Information Act. But it's not going to be called the Freedom of Information Act. It'll be called whatever else. Here in Indiana, it's called APRA, the Access to Public Records Act. There's a... One second here. What would it be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The last link, number 6, it's nfoic.org/state-foi-resources/state-freedom-of-information-laws. All right, and what this will give you is essentially, this is a state-by-state list, all 50. What's up there, everyone that I'm not saying hi to? Sorry, sort of in the zone here. Anyway, this will give you all 50 states. It's a pretty good site. It'll, click on your state. It'll give you a general review of your open door law, your open meetings laws, and your public records laws. And essentially, the administrative orders stuff in 5 U.S. Code is federal. Your best bet if you're going to do public records request is to go by your state statute, because 9 times out of 10, if you're doing public records request as a First Amendment auditor, you're going to be interacting with your local government. That is going to be going off of city ordinances, county ordinances, and state statutes. So if you go on the first link, foia.gov, you can get a very good narrative as far as a little bit of a learner's process. Actually, the last link is a good bit of information as well on how to file a public records request. Now, public records and freedom of information is applicable to governments. If you're going to look into FOIA, you should also look into the Privacy Act, which is 5 U.S. Code 552A. That's information concerning individuals. You can submit requests for information on yourself. That'll be covered under the Privacy Act as well. So, all right. Now, every state has their own public access counselor or freedom of information officer or whatever they term it, that deals with, stuff on a state level. Then there's some, depending on how, big of an area you live in, what kind of funding they got, how much they're up on their stuff. They may have local individuals responsible for this as well. Here in Indiana, at least in LaPorte, from what I can tell, throughout Indiana, there's one individual, one guy, one office. I shouldn't say one guy or one individual, but one office, the Public Access Counselor's Office for the state of Indiana. Mr. Luke H. Britt. And essentially, here in Indiana, if you submit a public records request and it's denied, or prior to submitting a public records request, you can contact this office and request information. It's called an informal inquiry. Or like I said, you can file a complaint based upon a denial, and he will issue possibly an advisory opinion basically to this public agency that has denied your public records request, and advise them that they're not in conformity with the Indiana public records laws, as well as the open door violations for public meetings and things of this nature addressed through this office as well. But one of the things I would like to really focus on is what all exactly is a public record. Now, things are going to vary from state to state. Different states are better with it. From what I understand, in Indiana, we're like really not that good at transparency as far as our government. We have a very low ranking. I think we were like, we get like an F or something in the grading. Very low scoring as far as individuals who provide studies on this kind of stuff. We don't do so well. And even here, there is a range of things that are available through public records request. And we're going to touch on a few of those things just so you get a general idea of what it is exactly you may be able to request with a public records request. So, first and foremost, police logs. Under Indiana Code 514.3.5, C in parentheses, a law enforcement agency shall maintain a daily log or record that lists suspected crimes, accidents, or complaints, and the following information shall be made available for inspection and copying. The time, substance, and location of all complaints or requests for assistance received by the agency. The time and nature of the agency's response to all complaints or requests for assistance. if the incident involved an alleged crime or infraction, the time, date, and location of occurrence, the name and age of any victim, unless the victim is of a crime under IC 3542-4 or IC 3542-3.5. I'm assuming these have to do with children. The factual circumstances surrounding the incident, and a general description of any injuries, property, or weapons involved. Okay, so this is Informal Inquiry 16-INF-09 for Indiana. And it's basically, what it's describing is factual information. Factual information is what they're not allowed to redact. Basically, a police report is, for one, it's commonly denied. Police reports are often denied under public records request in Indiana as law enforcement investigatory record exempt. However, a law enforcement investigatory exemption applies to records compiled in the course of an investigation. If it's created by the police department, it is not a law enforcement investigatory exempt record. So basically, all this factual information, the time, substance, and location of all complaints, the time and nature of the agency's response, times, dates, locations, individuals involved, their age, all of these are facts, and they can't redact the facts. These have to be provided to the public. Exempt because people, Jesus fucking Christ. No, it's not. That has nothing to do with it at all. It has nothing to do with innocent until proven guilty, because you're not innocent until proven guilty. Take a fucking look around in America. That's what makes me think people like you are the police. Because you're so out of touch with the fact that you live in America and that's not how shit works. You're not innocent until proven guilty. Law enforcement records of older investigations. This pretty much explain this is the exact same thing. Compiled in the course of an investigation. Okay, so then you have stuff like let's go with applicants of public officials. This is pools of candidates for the Muncie City Council and City of Muncie's Mayor's Office. Candidate information. Attorney invoices. The candidacy information is Informal Inquiry 18-INF-04. The attorney invoices is Informal Inquiry 17-INF-08. Nonprofit corporations. Being the sole steward of a revenue stream, however, is a government function. This is when governments create nonprofits to control their money, to try to get around the citizen having access through public records requests. Informal Inquiry 16-INF-04. He addresses that this is not a nonprofit, definitely open to the public. Informal Inquiry 14-INF-05. This is nonprofit grantees. Information regarding that. Informal Inquiry 16-INF-20. Volunteer fire departments. Everything about them is public. Poll worker records. Informal Inquiry 15-INF-01. The names and precinct where the election worker served is public record. All right. Social media accounts of public officials. This would be a Facebook account for your mayor, your city council ward representative, the chief of police, anyone that's considered a public official. And that's a lot of people. Informal opinion 18 INF-08. Therefore, this office discourages blocking social media followers if the account is created for the purposes of conducting public business. It is a barrier to access, and the practice often discriminates between users based upon ideology rather than objective factors. Social media creates a forum. If that forum is kept private and internal for non-public business purposes, then it may remain private and a public employee does not lose the privacy expectation of a personal account. Once that account is held open as a public business-related forum, however, all comers should be welcome regardless of their ideological, political, or community standing. So essentially, when you're arguing with your local mayor on Facebook and they block you, that's a public access denial. This is something I would consider to be your local state statutes applying to public access for public meetings and public records is probably going to operate with much more teeth as far as being able to enforce because of things of this nature. With FOIA, that's mostly going to apply to your federal agencies, ATF, FBI, things of this nature. Informal opinion 18-INF-05. Emails of judicial officers and text messages. To the extent that an email message is not connected with a particular case and otherwise not accepted by Administrative Rule 9G, the Access to Public Records Act will govern public access. Indeed, unless an exception applies, emails are public records for purposes of the Access to Public Records Act and presumptively disclosable upon the agency's receipt of a reasonably particular request. As stated above, APRA contains both mandatory and discretionary exceptions to disclosure that may apply to a judge's emails if Administrative Rule 9G is silent. Best practice would dictate that each public employee keep track of his or her own substantive public business messages and retain them. This recommendation applies to personal or government-issued devices. As for requests for text messages, I suggest the standard of reasonable particularity as that used for emails. Identified sender, identified recipient, reasonable time frame, and subject matter and or keywords. The legislature's definition of public record leaves no doubt that text messages qualify as public records. Therefore, unless an exception applies, the text messages of a public official that are created or maintained in the course of conducting public business constitute a public record and are presumptively disclosable under APRA. Okay. Again, text messages Informal inquiries, 16-INF-30. Anyway, long story short, it goes by, in Indiana, it goes by a general retention schedule, which is what we're going to touch on here in a second. It makes it 3 years. Voicemails. Informal inquiry, 15-INF-20. This one's actually from the IT director of County Government South Bend Legal Department. Before that was a court administrator. So these aren't all private citizens. A lot of these are governmental officials checking to see if they're about to break the law, and getting advice. And this individual provides that advice to them. Voicemails can essentially, they're public record. They can be deleted whenever they want. However, if a voicemail is emailed, it then becomes subject to the retention schedule as a public record because of the email. They would have to save a copy of the voicemail and have the email both for 3 years. Emails outside of public meetings between board members, so as you know, you can get a general idea. Public records can be a range of things, some of which would surprise you, things that you would think there's no way that I'll be able to get that. Very good possibility that you're legally entitled to it under the whatever your state's public access laws are. As I said, check that link. It's got all 50 states. It's pretty good. I checked out the links, just a little bit. They all seem to have a general terminology and keywords that they're using. They're very similar to FOIA, but they're not actually FOIA, because FOIA is a federal law. And what you need is your local state law. Like I said, that's accessible in the link there. But if you do end up using FOIA, there's a good bit of information in the description for that as well, as the Privacy Act. All right, so retention schedule, very important. Find your state's local retention schedule that they go by. Your retention schedule is basically when a public agency is able to destroy a record. And essentially, this is a very big deal, because if you don't request a public record in the safe zone, essentially, of the retention schedule, they can essentially destroy this record. They can be fully out in the open that they've destroyed the record, and it doesn't matter because they were legally allowed to. But retention schedule is a very big deal. Here in Indiana, we have something called they've established with the statute the County Commission on Public Records, and they're essentially responsible for overseeing the preservation and destruction of public records locally. For instance, my local municipality has to submit a document requesting the authority, essentially the approval to destroy public documents based upon this retention schedule. And they basically put the year of the documents, what they are, and all this gets somebody goes through and is like, okay, these are from 2014, they're 5 years old, they're older than 4 years or whatever the retention schedule is, so it gets approved, and then my city hall can destroy them and make room for 2019, 2020, 2021, things of this nature. It's a very important part of the process. It's for efficient government. They can't store everything on paper forever. And we live in the digital age now, so a lot of stuff gets scanned in and preserved on digital media or whatever, various other options. Anyway, they can essentially destroy these public records, and then you don't have any legal appeal rights or anything of this nature because it was done in the proper process. So the early bird gets the worm, essentially. What else? Okay, so different methods for filing public records. Some of the things that I want me to touch on here. One second, folks. Here somewhere. Cost. That's one of the things. All right, so retention laws, different procedures. We'll do different procedures real quick. Locally, my like different, parts of my local government that I interact with, they all seem to have their own local form. Like the LaPorte County Sheriff's Department has their own form, but the LaPorte County 911 has their own form. LaPorte City has their own form. There's also a state-approved form that I kind of use for folks that don't have a form. If I go somewhere that doesn't have a form, I just use the state-approved one, such as like when I request things from the county clerk's office. But you can also, if they don't have a form in place here in Indiana, you can basically request it however you want. However, there are different rules based upon if you request it in email or by mail versus in person. Such as if you request it in person, they have 24 hours to respond. If you request it by email, they have 7 days to respond. So that's one of the things to look into in your local state laws. It'll touch on that, as well as reasonable, or we'll touch on, we did retention schedules. Potential problems and denial. All right, so we'll do cost real quick. Here in Indiana, I've seen, what is it? I think a court order is $1. A certified court order is $2. Transcripts for court hearings are $1 a page if you get a copy. However, they can be, that's the clerk's office can charge $1 a page if you get a copy. But transcripts of public hearings for court can be up to $4.75 a page. However, here in Indiana, there's a lot of stuff like the, for instance, there's a lot of stuff that's just basically supposed to have one copy available to you as a member of the public for free automatically. This is usually a hassle. We're going to get to potential problems in denial here in a minute. But there's a lot of things like your clerk's office record and judgment orders book, candidacy filings, things of this nature. You're supposed to be able to go in and get a free copy of certain things, and this is the way with your local municipalities for a lot of stuff as well. It really just depends as far as cost. Sometimes I get charged for things, sometimes I don't. It really just depends. I try to get as much stuff as I can for free. You're usually supposed to be able to get most of it for free, at least one copy. That's what makes it a public record. But sometimes they try to pull it. Potential problems and denial. So the number one and number two thing I really see is attorney work product and law enforcement investigatory exemption denial here in Indiana. And this is basically the attorney work product thing is very broad. Anyone who, like with your local government, if they hire an attorney, the language is loose enough that they could claim attorney work product on all kinds of shit. Anything really, anything that they could ask an attorney, give me your advice on this, and generate a document. Doesn't matter how trivial it is, it's now attorney work product because it's attorney's advice. Law enforcement investigatory exempt is where they basically claim that there's open investigation. They can't provide you with the information without jeopardizing the safety and security of the public and the investigation, blah, 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 blah. The third is deliberative materials, which is essentially business doings with the local municipality, when they do their shady real estate deals and shit like that. This is sort of a lesser used thing, but it's simply because in the grand scheme of things, you can use attorney work product and law enforcement investigatory exempt on just about everything that somebody would likely request. As far as denials and potential problems, the list goes on and on and on. You're likely going to have to interact with an attorney who is just going to assume that you don't know what you're talking about. While interacting with most small town local governments, most of these individuals aren't probably going to be as familiar as you are if you're well read on your shit and you know more than them. That's a potential problem. They're not going to accept this. It's usually they're going to get quite upset. It's offensive to know more than them, essentially. Though they are going to reassure you multiple times that they're just doing their job, while they refuse to do something that you're trying to explain to them is in fact their job. If denied, here in Indiana, there is a court process. Indiana's public records request are covered under the IC 514.3 and Indiana Code 5-514 or 5-14-3-9 covers the appeal process for if public records are denied. I've actually went through this. I filed a motion to disclose public records. In my local circuit court, I went through the process. If you watch my videos, you see I end up with a court record that essentially gets me arrested for trespassing and intimidation, and all kinds of fun stuff happens with that. But long story short, I end up with a court order from a judge ordering the city of LaPorte to provide me these records that I had been denied as law enforcement investigatory records. What's up there, James? Welcome. So, even if you are denied, your state should have some sort of appeal process outlined in the statute. Again, 9 times out of 10, I'm assuming what you're requesting is based upon you trying to make a local difference. You're trying to affect change in your own community, and you're going to want to have your local statutes and ordinances and state law to figure out how all of that's handled. FOIA really only helps you for the federal stuff. But like I said, there's a range of things that you can request. You'd be surprised what is actually supposed to be open to the public. The idea is supposed to be that a normal citizen can just walk into a governmental office and request to inspect several things. Easier said than done. They tend to they'll give you shit for free before they let you sit there and take pictures of them all day. 9 times out of 10, they will print the shit out and they will give it to you for free, no fees, no nothing, because they would prefer you not be in there taking pictures and videotaping documents that you're allowed to just inspect at will. But ideally, that is what the process is supposed to be. Is the citizen is supposed to be able to come in and inspect and copy public records. 9 times out of 10, they'll give you copies and let you inspect them if they give you the copies. But as I said, look into your local state stuff. You should have a public access counselor that is basically interpreting your state's version of FOIA and issuing some sort of advisory opinion. Should be noted that this individual in Indiana specifically has no authority to sort of like punish anyone. Opinion means exactly that. He cannot sanction them, but essentially the public agencies here in Indiana, if once they go against this process and you can sort of show that they're knowingly and willingly violating, you can have them fined. And it's not much. I think the first one in Indiana is like $100, and then maybe it's like $500 after that. But they, once you've gone through this process and they've been told what they can and cannot do, I would imagine they would be a little less inclined to want to knowingly contribute $500 to withholding some sort of document from you that doesn't really do that much damage. You know what I mean? It's a matter of whether or not they think it's worth $500, and that's getting them to the process that they're actually able to be fined. So it's, there's a lot of give and take. On paper, it sounds great. Florida has its sunshine laws. All these states have these things on paper and they sound great, and you got to go through a very long process to to have them punished for any sort of denial, to have them held accountable for denial, as it's easier to get stuff than it is to have them held accountable for refusing you things, which ultimately your goal should be having access, not the public agency denying you and you trying to get a lawsuit or some shit like that. So let me check what you guys are talking about here. All right, James, Greg. Hello, everyone. Kyle. Huckleberry, Sagemont Community Watch. Charged with assault with deadly weapon. All right. See, that's what I heard, was that he had been arrested already. It's Cindy, he may be. Yeah, I believe he's been doxxed already. Definitely going to say his name fits that criteria. Could see how that can bog down an office. I mean, you could look at it like that locally, here in LaPorte, Indiana. I believe the chief of police has requested another records clerk. So I look at it like I created a job. Just doing my part here to make America great. But no, it shouldn't be viewed as a citizen bogging down an office of government, because the government is supposed to work for the citizen. All of these records are being generated in the public's name. Your mayor, your city council, boards, commissions, all these people that are generating these public documents, they work for you. Essentially, you vote for them to manage a trust, which is city property, city funds, taxes, bonds, things of this nature. They are managing the finances and property of public trust. They do work for you. You have hired them. It's called voting. This is a job interview. It's a very unique job interview, but a job interview nonetheless. You essentially elect to have these people represent you in financial and legislative and executive decision-making processes. Yes, I actually have spoke with mayoral candidates about a lot of stuff. I'm quite concerned and try to be quite involved in what my local government's doing, because I read a quote once that says a society that elects corrupt politicians are not victims but accomplices, and I don't want to be an accomplice. So I tend to try to pay attention and voice my opposition to stupidity and bad ideas and reckless spending, general lack of fiscal responsibility, a complete lack of foresight for individuals of the future, such as the next couple generations that are not going to be able to enjoy public lands and things of this nature because they're being sold off to development, which is, everything's supposed to just fix all these problems. These politicians try to fix these community problems by selling off land to their fucking, real estate and construction company owning associates. And that's what's happened all across America, and it's because people aren't involved in the process because they're being told that any involvement at all, any knowledge of what the government's doing on part of the citizen is considered to be a nuisance. They have no problem taking your tax money, forcing you to pay for everything, but if you ask questions about it or you want to see some paperwork, maybe some financial stuff, let me see some line items, some billing, you're a nuisance. See, and that's the problem is the American citizens have accepted this. They've accepted that they're the fucking bankroll for government, but they don't want to be involved in the decision-making process, which is why most people have no right to complain. With rights come responsibility. And if you don't want to exercise the responsibility, you really don't have much room to talk about your rights being violated, because your rights are being violated 9 times out of 10 because you're silently consenting to it. You're refusing to voice your opposition to it because you don't want to be viewed. You don't want to be viewed as a nuisance, someone who's preventing these nice governmental workers from being able to do their job, which is to not fucking blow your money on dumb shit. Part of their job is informing you of what the fuck they're doing. They shouldn't treat you as a nuisance. Laporte is infamous for cronyism. They need outsiders to come in for change. Terry, we do agree on that. Laporte is absolutely about nepotism, dynastic hiring processes and policies. Basically, it's definitely who you know around here. Everybody, this is some straight up, flow chart kind of shit to keep track of, but it's not that difficult. You can figure out who runs the show around here based upon street names. There's a lot of families that have been involved in the political scheme and atmosphere around here for quite a bit. And it's like musical chairs. Good old boy club. This is small town America. This shit's probably resonating with anybody that lives in another town just like this. There's a good old boy club and they run the fucking show and everybody knows it, and nobody's done anything about it because they can or what the fuck ever. I don't know. Free speech and right. Yeah. Free speech is the First Amendment. You motherfuckers need to start reading. The First Amendment protects you from your government. It does not protect you from your neighbor. It does not give you the right to come on here and use words like faggot and retard and stupid ass dumb shit. So you'll get fucking modded out. Yeah. Your First Amendment speech is great. I'll help you protect your First Amendment speech from the government. You do not get to come on here with your homophobia, trying to talk shit and ableism and racism. And no, it's selective understanding. You need to fucking, the First Amendment is a list of negative liberties. It's what your government cannot do to you. That has nothing to do with, that's what I mean, is your free speech does not apply here. It is, that's the fucking way it is. You guys need to understand what the actual First Amendment is, and it's a list of negative liberties. It's what your government cannot do to you. Your First Amendment rights protect you from your government. It doesn't protect you from my mods. You don't get to just come on here and fucking be useless. If you want to come on here and start a bunch of fucking drama just talking shit, then yeah, you'll get modded out. I don't have time for that. I mean, you can call it whatever the fuck you want. If you come here for education and not drama, you're probably not going to get modded the fuck out. Just a thought. Especially if you're one of those people that's in here talking about, if you just follow the rules, you don't have anything to worry about. Ding, ding, ding. Anyway, probably going to be a shorter show tonight. We're not going to do no full 2 hours or anything, guys. It's been a long day. And to be honest, I was kind of slacking on this. I had that much material prepared for this. I've been reading about agricultural law and trying to get this urban agriculture stuff going locally. It's becoming, it's quite a hassle to want to garden your whole yard and build greenhouses from reclaimed materials and things of this nature, because there's a bunch of stupid ass rules that you got to follow for everything. Yeah, I'm not a First Amendment auditor, by the way, just so you know. How did the Merit Commission meeting go? I missed it. I actually, I planned on going, and I ended up getting busy with some other stuff, so I did not go. But I'm going to be requesting the minutes for those here soon. Find out. Basically, the Port Police Merit Commission has not uploaded minutes for their meetings since like the end of 2016. So I'm probably going to do like a sort of bulk data request from the end of 2016 to the present to try to get all those meeting minutes up to and including the most recent ones, because I'm interested to see if there's been any discussion with these 3 officers that should have been fired but never were. There's never any disciplinary process and things of this nature. I want to find out if there was any sort of discussion at all. Stand-up dude recording kids. What the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah, I don't even know who you are, dude. So I don't really care. Like, you guys try to lump me in with all this shit. Clearly, I'm not furry, so I wasn't recording kids at a school. So, good night, Terry. Furry, for the record, wasn't recording kids at a school. Furry was walking around on the fucking sidewalk and got shot by a fucking idiot who shouldn't have been armed. Dude's behavior is pretty fucking reckless. I'm certain that the children were more concerned that an individual that they couldn't see, because I'm sure they were in class learning. I'm sure all these kids were just staring out the fucking window like, oh my god, that person's got a camera. Oh fucking dear, we're all worried and experiencing anxiety. It's the gunshot outside the school. The kids weren't worried about the gunshot outside the school at all. That's another thing. It's Citizen X got a very good point. The whole camera of making people uncomfortable, it's a little too late for that. You're in America. You're always on camera, everywhere, all the fucking time, everywhere you go, everywhere. There's nowhere where you're not on. I mean, unless you live out in the fucking sticks, but you can't walk around any human populated area and not be on camera. I don't give a fuck who you are, where the fuck are you thinking? Like, if you live in an area densely populated by 20, 30,000 people, there are fucking cameras all over the place, and you're on them whether you see them or not. It's there are cameras all over the fucking place. Traffic cameras. There's cameras in Walmart. There's cameras in CVS. There's cameras in Walgreens. There's cameras in the fucking gas station. There's cameras in your bank. There's cameras in your credit union. There's cameras in the cameras all over the fucking schools. Everywhere in the school, left and fucking right, there's probably cameras. But fucking, you put one in somebody's hand and give them a goal, now it's dangerous. Now it's no different than having a gun. This is like having a fucking gun. That's why they're quick to say, well, we wouldn't let you bring a gun in here. That's why you can get shot in the leg to neutralize the threat of carrying a camera. You know, we're approaching some shit. It's coming. Like I said, the YouTube community will be censored. It is effective. Video doesn't lie. These police departments, they can't maintain law and order, i.e., keep pretending that they're all officer friendly and that they're not out here murdering people left and right out of stupidity, while they don't really solve the drug problem, and really all they're doing is recovering their own paychecks by force and exploitation. Video has shown that most of these cops are bad apples, and that all the good apples are going to sit the fuck back quietly and lie for the bad apples. So like I said, you're going to see anytime anything like this happens, it is going to turn into a politicized, opportunistic thing to respond to. Furry was the victim of a violent crime. Bottom line, no matter what your position is on all the minor details, the meat and potatoes of this is that Furry was the victim of a violent crime. And it's already been responded to as such by the authorities. So there's the damage is done, you know, with this press release kind of shit. You know, this language is dangerous. They're making individuals who have cameras no different than an individual who's wielding a firearm. And that's what it is you've been deemed a violent threat for recording activity. That's the bottom line. They're going to continue to escalate this. What's up there, Regina? They're going to continue to escalate things of this nature with language like this. You know, I really hope something else like this doesn't happen to somebody else, but it's really only a matter of time. I've seen too many individuals who have had, you know, their cameras swatted out of their hands, or they've been shoved, pushed, grabbed, things of this nature. You know, very aggressive responses to the simple act of recording with a camera. It was only a matter of time before something like this happened. This is the escalation of, you know, those prior acts, pushing, swatting cameras. Now an individual took it to this point, to this extreme. This time, you know, he's charged, been fired, yada yada yada. But the media is responding in a different fashion. The media is responding one way, and you know, the just because this individual's been charged doesn't mean they've been found guilty and convicted, and they're actually being held accountable as well. How this is prosecuted and how this plays out in court has a significant, you know, effect on you know, the long run. But it's yeah, I've seen a lot of auditors have guns pulled on them, and it was only a matter of time before somebody got shot. I mean, when I was watching the video with Furry, I just, I was sort of, I'm the outsider looking in, and at first I didn't recognize that. When Furry got shot, I was just almost like, you should have called. You should have stopped recording. You should have called 911. And started the documentation process. But in that moment, I don't know if I, feel the same. Being shot for something as trivial, you're in a lot of fucking pain, shot in the leg or not. That's gonna hurt. And for your brain is processing. This individual's told me if I move, they're going to shoot me. Then they just randomly shoot me, and now they're telling me to leave. I would probably entertain that they're planning to shoot me in the back. This individual is clearly experiencing some sort of fucking episode. They're mentally ill, they've lost their shit, if they're just brainwashed and stupid. But this individual's just shot me, so I can see where Furry's just, I've got to keep this camera rolling on this individual and make sure show what's happened. But it also, from the public's perspective, I think shows, this individual has been shot, they haven't stopped recording, so it allows them to manipulate this and make it look like Furry's a crazy person. And then the clip I seen, Furry doesn't actually respond and speak for Furry. It's a completely different individual who uses other triggering language and key language. It starts off with, people just got to start understanding that we're not crazy. That alone makes us look fucking crazy. That whoever you're talking about, they look crazy. As soon as you were like, we're not fuck, people just got to figure out we're not crazy. And this lady's all jacked up, and it's like, doesn't even say who this person is. The way the clip makes it seem is as if that's Furry, and it's clearly fucking not. They make a representation, and then they show their own fucking person who they don't identify. It's it's clearly displaying that they have an agenda with the language they're using and the way they're choosing to respond to it in the media. They're not claiming that the motherfucker who sat there with a hand, on an unholstered firearm, shivering, unable to process what he should do or should not do, and basically just shot Furry out of fear. There's no conversation about that. There's no portrayal of this. They show very short clips of this dude, and they're showing things that society is familiar with. They're showing him with his hand on his gun saying, hey, stop there, which looks very official. Just that little clip, and you're like, damn, this security guard told him to stop. That's why they got shot. They didn't stop. But if you watch the whole video, you see clearly that's not the case. It's just the way the media is portraying it it's scary. They're leading up to essentially, treating you like you're a terrorist, for real, not just joking around. You're a terrorist anymore. You're really going to be treated like a terrorist. What's up there, Jenny, Michigan watching? Thank you. But I've been speaking on this here and there. As I said, I've been seeing this coming for quite some time. It's caused me to, I look at a lot of shit differently now. I try to see a lot more shit from the way the public views, YouTubers. This YouTuber, we're becoming very depersonalized. It's an us and them kind of thing, and we're becoming the them. And things happen to thems. If you're a them, it's usually not for a good reason. They've made you a them so that they can turn the us's against you. Yes, us, them, and they. Anyway, what do we got going on in here? Yeah, check it out there, civilian. It's a wild video. Yeah, the kids usually, I mean, I didn't see any kids in the video. I watched it twice, so I didn't see a fucking kid anywhere really. So it's it's how they roll. It's like it's a completely different situation, but some of the similarities are No Manesio and his pig costume. Named, qualified immunity, and he's got the blue line flag as a cape, and he was humping a cop car, and it gets turned into some sort of obscene material disseminated to children or something. And it's because if they charge him with, obscene materials and children, what it sounds like is essentially child pornography. It sounds like he was giving pornography to children. But what he was doing was representing a political idea that a pig, a police officer named qualified immunity, which is essentially the get out of trouble card for police officers and judges and prosecutors and things of this nature. He's humping a police car. And it essentially represents that the police can get away with whatever the fuck they want because qualified immunity. I got my blue line flag, my special cape, my superpower. I'm going to hump this cop car. It's a dangerous message. Can't tell it the right way. People will start to put shit together. What? Police get away with shit because of what? Qualified immunity. That's what it's called. I'm going to look this shit up. I'm going to have to read up on qualified immunity, figure out what the fuck they're talking about. That's a bad message to send. No. We got to turn the message in. This guy dressed up like a pig and fucked a cop car. How do we flip this around? Call it obscene material, and we'll use the word children. Now he looks like a fucking pedophile, not a motherfucker trying to send a political message about how the police get away with literally murder. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's a very important thing to remember. But anyway, long story short, the situation with Furry, my heart goes out to Furry. Hope you have a speedy recovery. If you see this video, yeah, I hope, nothing, no permanent damage. I hope it doesn't end up costing you a bunch of money. I hope, your time and trouble is compensated. But yeah, it's I commend you for going out and doing what you do. You obviously had to have known that this risk could come to fruition long ago. You do this long enough, you start to realize just how crazy some people fucking respond to a camera. And you pursued that risk until you experienced what you were concerned with, and you handled the situation very, very appropriately. You in that situation, I'd imagine there was a tremendous amount of pressure and confusion, fear. I can't imagine what I would be experiencing during that situation. So I think you did a very good job, maintaining the documentation, and sort of, remaining calm. I imagine there's a good bit of shock to that, but you didn't, freak out and attack this individual, though you would have been very much justified. You did a very good job. So in the face of these circumstances, I commend your response, and I hope there's speedy recovery. What are you talking about, Marshall Zakov? I get some interesting random questions from trolls. Like, the Slavs have conquered most of the world. Why you not like us? What have you done? What did who do to me? The Slavs? Like, yeah, I'm not really sure what you're talking about. I don't recall saying any Slavs were gross. You mean slaves? I didn't say slaves are gross either. Not really sure there, bud. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up there, guys. To my mods, appreciate it. Yeah, no, I didn't say anything negative about any Slavic people, or the Serbians. Negatory. Anyway, to the mods, thank you very much. Yeah, me too, civilian. Yeah, man, I think you're commenting on the wrong video. We haven't discussed the Yugoslavian war ever on any of my videos. Like, ever. I don't know if I've ever said Yugoslavia in a video until this one. Anyway. Oh, it's too late for that shit, man. Anyway, yeah, I don't know, Jenny Jones. I'm just trying to figure out what old boys talk about here, but I have no idea. Pretty sure he's in the wrong fucking place. Talking about the wrong shit. No idea. Anyway, like I said, to the mods, thanks. I'm about to get off of here. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching. Yes, wrong stream there, Marshall. But give me a laugh, man. Get some dopamine flowing, so thank you very much. I was amused. But yeah, I have no idea what we're doing next week's show on. I was thinking about there's a local case with a self-defense aspect to it that has got me thinking about doing it on that. I might do it on some Second Amendment gun law kind of stuff. Who knows yet? I'll surprise you guys. Anyway, until next week, that's it for Friday Night Cites. As always, this is never legal advice. This is educational material. I'm just providing information. We're just reading together. The internet, social media makes a connection between people much more possible. We're just sharing information with each other. Anyway, so hope you enjoyed the sharing of information as always. And that's it. If you want to support, there's a PayPal link. That's on you. But the links for everything we discussed tonight are in the description as well. With that, have yourself a good day. Oh, yeah, Cindy, sorry. Court. As of right now, I have a special prosecutor, a Leslie Baker, out of Stark County, Indiana. I actually shared a few things when she was campaigning. She's trying to take a different approach to the opioid epidemic in her county. So she's got a little bit of a head on her shoulders and thinking differently. She might handle my cases appropriately. But yeah, I went yesterday. I have a special prosecutor. My public defender is off my case. They've appointed me a new public defender, but he's like a hybrid counsel, which means I'm pro se, but he's there to help me if I need it. Based upon the circumstances surrounding the forensic advocate for autism and the improbability that there's likely ever going to be one, I've withdrawn my basically my motion for that. So I no longer have a forensic advocate because I never did. But I've got essentially a new public defender on the way. New prosecutor's already picked out. The judge, however, has refused to recuse from the case. Still the same judge. So I'm still battling with that a little bit. Got some paperwork lined up. I've made it clear he's not going to be the judge that hears this case. He's the hard case. He's Judge 5 of 5. And basically, I think he's trying to show that he doesn't have to recuse. But I'm a hard case too. So we're having a pissing match right now. I go back April 11th, I believe, for a hearing setting. Basically, when we set new dates for final pretrial conference, final pre-jury conference, and actual trial setting date. So as of right now, I got a couple months till I even know when I have another trial date. So not too much going on there, but a little bit going on. However, can't get too into detail with what I'm doing to respond yet because I'm playing this one a little bit close to the chest, trying to make sure that they're not able to prevent my complaint process somehow. So I don't really want to know. I don't want to let them know what I'm touching on. Some law enforcement. I've even met people that work at the jail and shit, watch my videos, so I don't want to touch on too much about what I'm going to do with this judge's refusing to recuse, but I am responding with paperwork. It's the best way to do it, in my opinion. The dude's not doing what he's supposed to, so I'm gonna give him a little bit of help. Find him some help, for that matter. Anyway, all legal and legit, of course. Never do anything illegal. Never what we're discussing when we are vague about things here. But yeah, not too much has happened. Everything that was supposed to happen is formally happened. But the judge is still refusing to recuse. That's about the only big deal. Other than that, I don't go to court again until April. Here soon it'll start. getting ready for trial and whatnot just the same though. Start doing depositions and requesting some shit as far as what we're going to be able to see prior to trial, and we'll be able to see right before trial. So I got a lot of discovery material and everything so far. I'm pretty much ready for trial already. But I just got to get the paperwork ready, the paperwork side. Other than that, though, like I said, not much happened with court. I went, fucking did a few things, and now we wait a couple months to, see what we're gonna do. But at this point, I got a little bit of time to relax and do a few other things. I got some other shit and a different court that I gotta fucking work on, and we'll be doing updates about that soon. But anyway, it's been a long one. I'm gonna get off here. You guys enjoy. Stay safe out there, everyone. As you can see, if you're out recording, it gets dangerous. I got 3 or 4 of these bird clocks. One in just about every room, or every other room. They're nice. It's a very much so big difference in the sensory experience. Yeah. Thanks again, mods. You guys have a good one. I'll see you next time. 2 hours does fly by. Said it wasn't going to be a long one, but it is what it is. Anyway, deuces. Enjoy. Thanks for watching.